Thank you for listening to Paper Girl. I'm Melodie, host, co-owner of Meadow Market Books and More in Tulsa, a writer, and I am here today with another multi-hyphenate, my friend, a photographer of mine, and an author herself, Heather Dubree.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, you photographed me before.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that you wrote.
I semi kind of keep that two parts separately just because sometimes what I write isn't necessarily like it's romance. So depending on who my audience is.
So you have 2 books out. You want to tell me a little bit about both of them?
Yes. So I've technically written 3 books, but my first one I don't market a lot just because it was my first one. It was kind of like I learned a lot with that one, but she did her best. But so The Lesser Gods is my second book, and I got the idea picking up my kid from his school and started writing it. I wrote it, the first draft, in 1 month, and it's my bestseller still. It's a vampire romantasy, enemies to lovers, with some arranged marriage sprinkled in. And then I went and completely kind of like switched gears and did a contemporary romance, which I never thought I would write because I read a lot of fantasy, sci-fi, anything like historical fiction. But I kind of switched gears, and then I wrote The Arrangement, which is an ultra spicy rivals to lovers with a masked man and a spicy content creator. So kind of went completely, once again, just off the rails. And it's kind of nice. I have ADHD, so I'm a mood writer. So if I want to write it, I'm just like, all right, sure. We'll see if it, pans out and I actually finish it.
So tell me how picking up your kid got you to I've been in a car pickup line a time or two. How sitting there waiting for your kiddo to come out of the school building brought a whole vampire romance to life.
I listen to a lot of music. I'm also a maladaptive daydreamer, like nobody's business. So I do that a lot. And so I was listening to one of my favorite bands, Sleep Token, just my favorite. And I was actually trying to come up with an idea for a fan fiction because I read and write fan fiction just for fun. And I find it's really nice, as a palate cleanser in between writing original stories. And then I was fleshing it out in my head, and I had already started plotting it on my notes app. My notes app is crazy, absolutely insane. And it just started coming to me more as an original work. And I posted a TikTok about it, almost immediately, because I'm one of those people that I have to have accountability. And I was like, I wonder if this would even be a market for anybody. And it was probably one of my first quote unquote viral TikToks. And so it kind of pushed me, and I literally went home that night and started writing.
I love that inspiration. I'm working on something now that was came up in a thread, and I was like, all right, I have to write it.
Yep.
And I sat down and wrote 3,000 words that night. I was all right.
It's the best feeling.
People want to read this. I guess I have to write it.
Exactly. That was my thing. I was like, oh my gosh, people want to read. All right, I'll do it. So, yeah.
And you had already that little bit of experience with your first book.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not one that you market a lot, but you want to tell me a little bit about the journey of writing your first novel?
So my first one, it took me almost 2 years to write because if you're familiar, if your listeners are familiar with different writing terms, a pantser is somebody who just writes by the seat of their pants, and then a plotter who plots it out. Well, I was a pantser at first, and as with somebody with ADHD, that is not a good thing for me, just for me personally. So I kept going back and forth with the plot, and so I'd have to rewrite everything. I think I rewrote that thing 20 times. But it was also very much just a therapeutic thing to do, to write that and to write these characters. And I really kind of just poured a lot of my own trauma into these characters. So wasn't even just that I was writing a book. It was definitely a sort of therapy for me. So after I got that one, it was kind of one of those things you're I can't write it. I can't write a whole book. Like there's no way I can actually do it. And so I think after I got over that hurdle and I was like, oh, I did do it. And had a lot of fun with it. And that's when I went into the other one. So the first one was if I watch anime a lot, it's an isekai. It goes into a different portal and goes into another world, and it's based in Tulsa, as my character is in Tulsa and stuff like that. And of course she meets like a broody, MMC, that kind of thing. So it was supposed to have a sequel, which I still plan on doing it. It just isn't on my thing right now, but it means a lot to me. I actually named the characters in there from a book I tried to write during high school. I would always carry around this, like, those big blank books you get at Barnes and Noble, and they look like classics. And I had a lot of social anxiety as a kid, and I was bullied a lot in high school. And so what I did a lot was I just wrote. There was never anything. I had no plot. I was just me writing. And so I took the characters' names from that and put them in there just as like, hey, look, you did it kind of thing. Yes. So Lesser Gods came out in 2024, The Arrangement in 2025. How long between your first book and 2024? Ooh, that's a great question. I think it was only a couple months. I always try to take breaks. But I really enjoy the writing process. And once again, I have ADHD. If I'm not doing something, it's really hard for me to like chill out. So if I'm at home and I have nothing to do, then I'm reading or I'm writing or sometimes playing Sims. So like other than just normal mom duties and like, just being an adult, I have to have something to do, and my mind is constantly going. So being able to kind of focus that energy, it kind of helps keep me, just as mentally good.
Yeah. What's that like for you? We've had a couple of other parent authors, but what's that process like for you, trying to write and trying to create, because you're a very creative person, trying to balance all of that?
So now that my son's older, he's a teenager now. So it's a little different. I have definitely a lot more free time. So I'm able to do that. But also, I find I find it extremely important as a parent to have something to do outside of parenting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And having that free time to be creative with myself and separate from wife, mother, I think is incredibly important. And honestly, my son and my husband both are very sweet. And so like, I guess my son told his English teacher that I wrote books and stuff like that. And she's like, I tried to look it up. I'm like, please don't, just don't do that in class. So they're all really supportive, and like, he'll always like try to come in while I'm writing and stuff like that. And he knows like when I'm writing, it's writing time and things like that. So yeah, I enjoy it as a nice outlet.
I love that. So you also do photography. What other art do you dabble in?
Oh, I love doing any kind of like graphic design. That was part of the thing about being a self-published writer, is that you are, everything. You're, the writer, editor, social media manager, things like that. So I make all my own covers. Now I've been able to work with some amazing artists that I've commissioned artwork for, but typesetting, doing all this stuff inside formatting books and stuff. I love doing that. Me and Canva are best friends. There'll be times like when I just like making social media posts. Those are really fun. Also, I just get those wild hairs, and it's definitely just the person in me. I'll see something on TikTok. I'm like, I'm actually going to learn how to do air dry clay this month. So it just depends on what I'm feeling that day.
No, I love that. That's like the bright side to like the ADHD hobby hopping is like, if it strikes me and I've got like a little bit of disposable income to pursue this, I'm gonna go check it out and see if I have any fun doing it.
It's kind of that master of none kind of thing. It's like, I can do everything okay. Not a master at it, but I've dabbled.
So when I was looking through your two books that you're really heavily promoting right now, I noticed that Lesser Gods got like an edit and brand new art. You want to walk me through that journey?
Yeah. So being self-publishing and stuff like that, like I said, you are doing everything. So I realized that there was quite a few grammatical errors and things like that in my book. I did not do super great in school. I had undiagnosed dyslexia and ADHD. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 19. So me and, some of my formative years, it just wasn't clicking for me. So a lot of things that people were catching, I could read it 12 times and not catch it until like they highlighted it. So I decided instead of getting really discouraged, I'm a perfectionist. So if things are not perfect, it annoys me a lot. And so whenever I got some of that feedback, instead of just throwing in the towel and being like, well, I can't do it, so I'm just, I'm deleting everything. I mean, that was a thought. I'm not going to lie. I was upsetty spaghetti for a while, but I was like, you know what? I can fix this. So I still had so many people that still loved my book. And I was like, there's, I can fix this. So I hired an editor. She went through and did my book. And I also I made a map. I got some new art for it, kind of give like a remastered thing, just as like, a thanks for still reading. I actually made a post on TikTok and Instagram, just talking to me like, hey, if you DNF'd my book because of grammatical issues, like if that's something that really bothered you, reach out to me and I want to send you a free copy. And so I did. I actually got like a few people reached out to me and I was really glad they did. So I sent them a free physical copy of the book. And I've set it for free for a while, just as like, thanks, here, re-download it kind of thing. And it's on Kindle Unlimited. So the really nice thing is you can just refresh it and it just gets the new one.
There it is.
Yes. And so, being an indie author and just being a human is learning from your mistakes. And so I did it, fixed it. And now I'm very, very proud of it, that it's still my bestseller. And it is still nice to know that it was still my bestseller before that because people liked the story, despite the fact
you're in the right spot.
Yeah. So it made me feel good about it. And I just, like I said, I'm a perfectionist. I really am, not protected. I feel proud of what I do. And so I want to make sure that it, I'm doing the best I can. So I was really proud of the remastered version and everything I got some good feedback from it.
I think that's really exciting. And I agree. I think it speaks to the writing itself because like being a writer and being a storyteller is not the same thing as being an editor. Mm-mm. And like there's a whole like this creative world. Sometimes people are blessed with both.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you have both and then one skill kind of goes by the wayside. Yeah. And like if I'm going to lose one skill, and this happened to me last year, I had both. Mm-hmm. And then we started going through it and suddenly I did not have both. Yeah. And what I did lose was the eye for editing that I once had. And I'm like, well, I can be okay with that because I can have somebody else edit. I want to be in the creation, right? Yes. I want to be building the plot, not just painting it and letting someone else put it in the fire.
Yes. So. I definitely prefer being a storyteller. And once again, whoever can do both, I hope they know they're God's favorite. And I'm extremely jealous.
Don't take it for granted.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, in that vein of storytelling, you have a very specific eye in photography. And I feel like that speaks to some of your storytelling. How did you pick up photography?
So I wanted to do photography ever since I was like little. I'm talking like I was born in 1987. So I'm old. I remember the first digital camera, and I got one of the first digital cameras at 3 megapixels. And I used to have a film camera. I was really into photography all throughout high school. Back then, photography isn't like what it is today. If you did photography, you had a studio with lighting. It was I want to even say very male dominated. And it just wasn't something, wedding photography really wasn't a thing. I mean, you'd have somebody come in, snap a couple and go. It's not like how it is today. And so whenever I was, once again, didn't do great in school, I did not, I didn't really have a plan for the future. I struggled a lot with mental health. And so whenever the school counselor's like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'm like, I like photography. And they're like, oh, that's such a nice hobby. What do you want to do to make money? And so I went for a semester and I learned black and white film photography. I learned how to use a dark room. It was the only class I passed that semester. But it really just that spark stayed with me. I went through all kinds of different jobs. It was ridiculous. I would just hobby hopping, but job hopping and be like, I'm not actually interested in this anymore. Boring. But I finally really got the push to do full time after, me and my husband started dating, and he really was like, you really should focus on this. You have a gift. You need to do this. And
we love an enabler husband.
yes, he really was like, listen, I know it's scary, but I'll help you. Like, it's not a big deal. And he runs his own business, so he knows the business side of it. And so I did it. And I'm so glad, because I've been doing it for, oh my gosh, I think it's gonna be 8 years in March, full time. So, school counselor wasn't just a hobby. Now I make money from it.
Oh, you just know that if a boy was sitting in her office and was like, I want to do a photography business, she'd be like, great, here's all of the business schools that have excellent art programs. Here's scholarships that you can get. Yeah. I know a photographer that I could set you up with as a mentor. Yeah. And they would have ushered him on to great heights. And then they're like, oh, that's so cute that the girl wants to take some pictures.
Yeah. So I got very, like I said, it just stuck with me. That was the only thing that stuck with me that I really wanted to do other than reading. And like I said, I'm not good at grammar. So a literary, publishing career probably isn't in the works for me, as any kind of, editing or anything. So this was it.
But as far as writing, I feel like this year in particular, you've really stepped into the event space of doing author events throughout. Had you done any prior to very recently?
I started doing one with my first book came out. I wasn't doing it at all. Like I said, which is so funny because I am in such a front facing customer service type job, and I do weddings a lot. But one of my friends who works at a bookstore, she really was like, you need to do a book signing, and really and I was like, fine, okay, I'll do it. And so it's kind of one of those things. I love doing them. I get very nervous, but I love meeting people and I love talking to people. So I've really tried to amp it up because I have a 5-year plan.
There you go.
And so I'm really manifesting and working for hopefully one day, just full-time writing career. And so it is that part where you have to put yourself out there, especially if you're independently published, because there's not an agent doing it for you. Yeah. So
it's all you all the time.
All me all the time.
So you put together a signing was your first
Yes.
How'd that go?
It was actually fantastic. I sold out. I have amazing group of friends, and everyone came by to support me. My husband came by and got me flowers, and it was just a really good experience. Like I said, it was nerve wracking, but it was also especially once again, when you struggle with things like social anxiety, sometimes you just have to do it and be like, I did it scared, but I did it. And it was fantastic. And so I just kind of I really like doing events. They're fun. And I love doing, what's it called? I like putting together setups and things like that as well. So I like doing all the marketing.
So what do you have coming down on the 2026 event pipeline?
So I'm going to be at the Tulsa Women's Expo next weekend, and I'll be there Saturday and Sunday. And then I have a couple book signings with Bear's Bookstore in Muskogee. I have one coming up. And, oh my gosh, I have a couple more. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But I've got probably 4 or 5 lined up. So I'm really excited about it.
That's so exciting. Have you gotten to interact at all with the writing community, Romance Writers of Oklahoma or anything like that?
Yes. We have such a great writing community in Oklahoma and just in general. Honestly, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Book Talk and on TikTok, because when I got on there during like the pandemic, like everyone else, because we were all bored, I did learn how to make bread. But I also realized there's such a really great community of people just like me that are writing a book, and I've learned so much from them. And so I think especially being in something that is, you're working by yourself kind of thing, I think building community is really important. And then through that, I met a bunch of amazing authors that are here in Tulsa, which is just fantastic. So like it's really nice whenever we all have events together, because it's like, we get to go have coffee sometimes, and like we bounce ideas off each other. And we always are all very supportive. We repost each other's stuff. We share each other's events. And I think that's really important. It's definitely a community. And I really, really enjoy that part of it.
So I want to explore the book talk side of like writing and getting ready to market a book, because when I wrote my book, I was a children's librarian. And so my book talk was very like children's heavy, and my book, not a children's book.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get that piece of it. And I'm so curious about like really how you got in there, and then like what came of it.
So when I started getting into book talk, like I said, I had been reading since ever. In fact, like when I was a child, that was the only way they could ground me, is they would not let me go to the library, and they would take my books away. That was really the only way to like really make me feel a punishment.
Oh yeah.
And I had been reading for so long, but I guess I didn't realize that some of the books, monster romance, really into monster romance. Love it. I got into a whole new genre of this kind of stuff. I found a really cool community with other people that enjoyed some of the same stuff. I didn't know what dark romance was. I've been reading it for a while, but it was really kind of like the first time I saw that like people were publicly talking about the books they read and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you mean minotaurs? What's going on here? Now there's mermaid books. So once I started getting into that and kind of finding the community, then you'd start finding people that are like, oh, I'm an indie author. And I had no idea really that you could like self-publish. I didn't really think that was a thing. So when I found out about that, I kind of went down a rabbit hole, because I had been, I've been writing fan fiction since I was like 15 years old. And that's how I was, writing. But it's it's so much different from an original book. And, there are some amazing fan fictions that are like ridiculously huge, but I'm talking like finishing start to finish a book. And so when I see all these other women and other people just going out there and writing books that aren't necessarily what maybe traditional publishers are pushing, it's so much more inclusive. And I felt like I wasn't like weighed down by like the expectations of, what I thought traditional publishing was and how to get a book published. And so once I went down that rabbit hole and, found all this amazing community, it kind of just inspired me to be like, you know what, I can do this. I know what I like to read, and they also like it as well, I guess. Like, didn't know that. So I can write that. So it was very empowering.
I love this fan fiction to like dark romance, like pipeline, because I dabbled in the fan fiction. I didn't ever write any, but I read so much fan fiction, and I'm pretty sure that's how Facebook was like, oh, let's put some like shifter romance on Facebook.
Literally.
And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll download the Dream app. Yes. I guess I will, and I'll watch 1,000 ads, and I'll join author Facebook groups and keep track of them writing. What kind of fan fiction, if you don't mind me asking, got you in the fan fiction universe?
Oh my gosh. I'm one of those people. I was really, really obsessed with Star Wars when I was a kid. I read all the expanded universe, and then I found out there was fan fiction. And me and a friend of mine, this is before fan fiction was really a thing, and I didn't even know it had words. So we were pen pals, and we would write each a chapter, and we'd mail it to each other back and forth.
Oh my God.
And so that's how I started. I was writing Star Wars fan fiction. It just cute little stories. And it was like, we had the best time. I had no idea it was a thing.
That's
So,
incredible. That's so like, oh, pre-internet fan
yes,
fiction sharing.
it was a time.
That's such a beautiful. We need to bring that.
We
right
really
back.
do like a pen pal. Feel like, here you go, guys. Here's your next one.
No, like how zines are really
Yes.
having like a major resurgence, but like fan fiction. zines.
Yes.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Put it back together, guys.
We're not the only spot with like a fan fiction or not
Yes.
fan fiction, a zine sharing spot. So I think we need to make this happen.
Pen pal fan fictions again.
That's incredible. Oh my
Yes.
God. I love that. So how did your fan fiction help you, do you feel, in your novel writing?
I think it was just kind of, once again, whenever, you're growing up and when you're growing up and just wanting to, it's just kind of one of those things like an exercise. It was fun to do. And then it's really, like I said, when you're sharing it with your friends, you're like, does this work? And are there plot holes here and stuff like that? So it was really just more like an exercise. So I think it just helped me grow as a writer.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the practice of writing.
Exactly.
It's so like essential. And I think people forget that like to be a writer, you just have to write. But when you're in the process of writing something specific, you still have to like be regularly exercising that muscle.
Yeah.
Because like just working on your one piece is like only doing leg day for a year.
Yes, exactly.
And you're like, wow, my legs look great, but now I cannot think about anything else.
Yes.
No, I love that. So thinking a little bit about earlier, you were talking about your son telling his English teacher that you were a writer. And I've seen a lot of discourse about this online, especially lately, about whether or not to use a pen name with how popular romance is really getting mainstream. So you did not use a pen name.
I didn't. I'm out here just wilding with my full government name. Yeah.
I love that. What was did you consider doing a pen name?
I did. I actually thought about it for months because I do write romance and it is open door. But I talked to my husband about it too, because I'm like, this is both of our names, right? So I feel like that's something you need to consider when doing this. But I also felt, because I'm selfish and I wanted people to know that it was my work, and I didn't want to, I've been where I've had several businesses and I have like 5 different Instagrams, and feel like almost like I had to brand myself. I'm like, I don't want my writing to be a brand. I want this to be me. I don't want to have to put on like a public facing face for this. I think it's, especially with, I don't know how, like, I'm so bad at this. I'm so sorry. I feel like it was something that was so deeply personal for me, even if some of it's just like, a romance. It's something very important to me. And it was been on my bucket list since I was like, 9 years old, and I watched Little Women and I wanted to be Jo March. And I wanted my name on there and I wanted it stamped. It is kind of one of those things like, art and stuff like that is a way for you to live on forever. And so that it's just one of those things I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. My husband was really supportive. He's just like, I don't care. That's fantastic. Go for it. And so I was like, okay, it freaks me out a little bit sometimes because I'm like, man, if I ever got big, but at the same time, like I said, I like people knowing that it's me.
You're like, oh, this is the art I'm making.
Yes.
So if it's attached to my name, like.
Yes. I'm also not embarrassed by the art that I make. I am very, I don't know how the word, I've been an artist for so long. I haven't had to worry about like, how I dress or how I look for so long. I feel like that just translates over to it. I'm just like, you can like it or you cannot. I'm, 38 years old at this point. If somebody, doesn't like me for stuff that I'm writing or sharing, I will survive somehow.
So many other people on this planet.
Yes.
You don't have to like me. That's okay.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it, we're on like a floating rock in the middle of space at the grand scheme of things. Probably very less on my stress list.
I love that so much. So are you working on anything now?
Yes. So I finished my 4th book, which is a tie-in novel to The Lesser Gods. It is my biggest work. It's sitting nice at like 170,000 words, which is the most I've ever written. And it is currently getting edited. I just released the cover art. I had the most amazing artist. She was just fantastic to work with. And now I told her she stuck with me because I'm like, I'm obsessed with you. But I finished that, and I was going to give myself a few months off because I had already plotted out the third tie-in novel to this fantasy world. And I think I got like 2 weeks, and I'm almost 50,000 words into my fifth book. And it's still a tie-in. I like doing intertwined novels where it's not the same characters, but some characters can still pop in. Once again, helps with the ADHD. I can't stay on the same person. I have to pop around, but it really helps with world building. I'm like, oh, I've already got this. The world has already been built. So yeah, I'm working on The Demon of Asphodel, which is a shifter romance. Gotta love it. And it's definitely darker than the Lesser Gods. I really a lot of times I will like pull from history and things like that, and current feelings I'm having. So this one was a little bit darker, and then the next one's but the next one that I'm working on is an still romantasy, and I'm just having so much fun with it. It's just a blast. So
I love it. And so you are also, of course, a super wide reader. I feel like did you say you just finished a reread of Heated Rivalry?
Oh, yeah.
Or...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been consumed.
Yes. Have you managed to pick up anything else lately that you've really loved?
Oh my gosh. I have read so many books this month. It's actually ridiculous. My friend had to tell me to put my Kindle down and like actually write. She's like, remember, you're wanting to be a full-time author. You need to. I was like, fine. Okay. I read this. I'm really big on Kindle Unlimited. I love reading other indie authors and like self-published authors. And I read the most like adorable. I think it's called like The Wimpiest Vampire, the world's wimpiest vampire. I don't know. It's like a vampire and a vampire hunter. I read it in like 4 hours. And so I'm kind of obsessed with her as going through those. And I just finished Dungeon Crawler Carl. Obsessed. Loved it. That was really good. And I listened to the audiobook because the narrator for that audiobook,
bonkers.
It's I can't tell you how many times I paused and I'm like, what am I listening to? What is going on? And I loved it. It was just chaos. So that was fantastic. And I'm reading another book by Emma Hamm. She's another independent author, but she's one of the first mermaid ones that I read. It's called Whispers of the Deep, I think. But anyway, it's her third book and of that series, and I'm like, her stuff is so good. So anytime she posts something, I immediately start reading it. So
you're hanging out a lot in this romantasy and dark fantasy realm. Do you have any thoughts about like another place you might write, or are you pretty firmly in like this romance and like romance branches?
I thought about that a lot, and I love romance books so much. There always has to be some kind of subplot. I say that, but like I watch like a lot of anime, so like Jujutsu Kaisen, all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't necessarily have a romance plot. But when I'm writing, it's definitely, I love writing character interactions, and I think that's why I like romance so much. So I haven't yet. My husband's even asked me about that. He's like, "Have you ever thought about, writing something that's not a romance?" And I'm like, probably not.
Probably not. I think it's always gonna be romance.
That's kind of where I'm at.
It is. There's been like a thread of thought in my head talking specifically with independently published authors because like my poetry book I had put on KU for a while.
Yeah.
And like all of the different avenues to trad publishing and like trying to de-Amazon my life.
Yeah.
But like knowing that as soon as I cancel Kindle Unlimited, I'm going to be losing access to a lot of independent authors. And so, like, as a person I know who, like, has some of those same values, I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are, how you feel about that, or...
Oh, gosh, it's such a complicated topic. And it is kind of like what you said, like, whenever you lose a lot of readers, and it's an affordable way for a lot of people to read. I mean, I know at the rate that I read, there's no way I can afford to monetarily support all the authors that I want to. And a lot of the authors that I read and like I'm obsessed with, they're not in libraries because they're independent. So it is this weird, it's hard. And it's something I've had to kind of like contend with a little bit because like you said, you want to make sure that your values line up with what you're doing. And so right now I feel like it's the most feasible way to self-publish. And it is kind of one of those, what is it? What do I want to say? Like, it's not the best, but it's what we've got right now. Yeah. Does that make sense? And I, like I said, I love using Kindle Unlimited because and these authors are so great. They're so good. And I think that also with traditional publishing taking so long, and then you've got these publishers who are like, there's some people, I'm like, how are you writing this much and then getting them out and they're edited? Like, what are you doing? I was like, tell me your secret. But yeah, I feel like I don't have a really good answer on that because I feel like I'm still thinking about it myself, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense because it's like you know what you want to do. And I submitted exactly one query and then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do traditional publishing. I want to be like done with this.
Yes.
I did what I always set out to do with this book and I'm ready to just like put it aside and move on to the next thing. And like, I published Clever Woman through Barnes & Noble as a very similar process. But they don't have a really robust ebook system. And so I did put Clever Woman on Kindle and it's still available for purchase on Kindle. I did that on KU for a little bit and then I took both of them off of KU and there's like a time limit.
Yes. Yeah.
But what I will say is that like I was getting, you know, a couple dollars in royalties from both of my books being on KU. And as soon as I took them off, I've gotten like $2-3 because I just set like a pay what you can download. And I'm like, it's fine. Yeah. It's affordable-ish. Yeah. But it's not like, I don't love it. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh.
One day we'll have...
Hey, I will say things are getting better. Yes. I read that bookshop.org is setting up a way to independently publish your ebooks on there. I don't know what the system will look like. Okay. Because I've done exactly no research on it. Yeah. I saw them post about it and I was like, oh, that's neat. I think I was like about to go to bed. And so I take an ADHD med at night. Yep. I have to put my phone down because I tried to write a thread one time and I rewrote it like 6 or 7 times. And then I did go back the next morning and be like, I didn't look high while I was on thread last night. You know? So there's like little ways where we're starting to try to crawl out of the depths, but I don't think there's really a true person who cares about writing and cares about authors. That isn't like, I will never fault the authors for choosing what they chose because it is accessible. It's affordable. Like just thinking about like buying ISBNs is like an actual nightmare.
I literally am still in the trenches of that. Like I'm just like, it's expensive and people don't realize like the ISBNs, I didn't know this, like for every cover, and that's for paperback and for hardback, so you have to have one of each. It's crazy.
And then when you go through these major distributors, it's like, oh, it just comes with the price of like having them do your book, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's a little bit easier to fork over because I'm not actually having to like give them my card number for the ISBN because it feels crazy to just buy that label for your book.
Yeah. It's insane. It's like I said, it is such a huge learning curve when you decide to go the independent publishing route. And I've queried a few times, and at the same time, I kind of felt like the same with you is like you probably understand this too because you're a business owner as well. I like doing things the way I like. I don't like people telling me what to do. And I also am very vocal online as well. And I never want to feel like, like I said, I've been a business owner for so long. I haven't had to tamp myself down. I can wear what I want. I can say what I want. I can have as many tattoos as I want and nobody says anything.
Freeing.
It is so freeing. So the thought of like being there like, oh, you know, this doesn't actually come out until then. I'd be like, why not? But I can do it better. It's like my social media posts, I can do this better. And not saying like, I'm not saying if like I ever got like a a huge publishing deal, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, stop. But it is, you like me? Oh my God. But it is that thing, like right now, like where I'm at in life, I do enjoy having that control over, I have the rights to everything. And I feel like as artists, that is very important for us, whether you're doing like music, whether you're doing writing, whether you're doing, art. It's just that tangible feeling that like this is yours to control. Like if I wanted to right now, I could pull all my books off and no one can say anything about it. And I like
you
having
have the
that
freedom
power
to do
yes.
like edits
yes.
and art, and it's not this whole thing where you're like, well, how does this factor into the contract?
Yes. So I like the freedom that independent publishing, comes with, which I enjoy.
Love that. So my final question for you is one I ask everybody, and it's, what have you found most interesting or exciting venturing into the world of being a writer?
Ooh, I would say the same thing as the freedom to do whatever I want to. I'll sometimes be like, sit there and I have like a plot hole and I'm like, how am I going to fix this? And I literally have to tell myself, like, I can literally do anything, especially because I'm writing fantasy. It's like, I can do whatever I want. So it's also, as a writer, it's also being able to channel your thoughts, your hopes, your fears, also your views onto, a way. It's a different way to reach people. I feel like it's so hard to explain. When I'm writing, my feelings aren't coming from nowhere. My political feelings aren't coming from nowhere. My traumas are not coming from nowhere. It's a deeply personal part of me. And so I'm really giving a lot to myself in my books, even though they're just like I said, it's some romance books, but the characters are so important to me and I put so much of myself into it. I think it's very freeing. And so it's been probably one of the best creative outlets I've ever had. It's like having a journal, but I get to put it on other characters. So, yeah.
I love that. And I hate the like reduction of romance as like this silly little thing. Cause like thinking about like the major big names in romance, like Fourth Wing and ACOTAR, especially like Throne of Glass, like all of these big romances that are getting a lot of people, especially a lot of women, reading again, is like, yeah, there's some sex in it, and there's sexy little fantastic beings, but there's also like these women taking agency over themselves and taking positions of leadership and like standing up for what's right and like talking about complex politics. And Crescent City sets up this whole complex government structure with this very intense empire that has been created that is starting to finally crumble under the weight of being an ancient empire. And it's like, yeah, we're reading our fun little fantasy and it's like a little escapist, but it's also escaping issues. And even if you look at like more modern romances, think about Heated Rivalry and the conversation that's being had about like homophobia in hockey is like, oh yeah, homophobia in sports in general is such a big thing. And so like we can have this conversation about love, but like how love drives actions that literally change the world. I think like exploring trauma and grief and heartache through the lens of romance is very therapeutic for the author. It's therapeutic for the reader. And like overall is such a great like push to create something better. And like at the end of the day, like art's supposed to make you feel, right? And how powerful and incredible and like revolutionary it is to write a romance. Because it does mean something. It matters. And so,
well, and I want to add on to that because I completely agree. And I think also because the romance genre is mostly for women by women. So I feel like immediately any type of activity that is focused on for women is immediately marginalized, like very like put down. It's like, oh, that's like, yeah, you said, oh, that's so cute. I love the little romance books. And it does, I feel like also with romance, it focused so much as on a woman's feelings, woman's pleasure, consent. There is so much things that encompass romance fiction. I think, honestly, I think Heated Rivalry did a really great job with that because it also took people that never read that kind of stuff and watched it and they're like, oh my gosh, okay, yes, this is very spicy, but also why am I crying? So I felt like they really are starting to get that, like, oh, I kind of get this. Like, yeah, there's some spicy scenes. It's steamy. It's a little hot, but also you feel deeply for these characters. You have a whole nother level of empathy for somebody maybe you never would have like gotten into that mindset. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like reading anyway, anything is going to be revolutionary and is going to put you into a different mindset. And like you said, the fact that romance fiction is so, oh, that's cute, but it's one of the leading industries in like book selling right now. So it's just, it is that kind of thing where it's for women. So it's just, aw.
Oh, but when they keep casting it aside, then we'll just keep moving in silence, I guess.
Yeah.
Heather, thank you so much for coming onto the
Absolutely.
podcast.
Thanks.
I'm excited to read your books. We're going to start carrying them.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be just a good old time.
Yes.
Read some romance, change the fucking world.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you so much for having me. I had such a good time.
Yay. Yes. And thank you so much for listening to Paper Girl. We're going to be interviewing Dolly and Brutus from Siam. They're a micropress here in Tulsa. That's going to be one of our next episodes. We've got some really incredible literacy charities coming up. It's really awesome. So thank you so much for all of your support, and we'll chat with you again next time.